G'day guys, welcome to this special edition of the show where today I break down the GTA 5 gameplay video. So if you, just like me, enjoyed the gameplay video that we saw last night, please smack the like button. Now let's get into the gameplay breakdown. Okay, so with this breakdown, I'm not going to mention every single scene, but I will break down the important stuff and point out some cool stuff on the way too. But now to our first scene, as you guys can tell, it's something very familiar, because if you do remember back to the original GTA 5 trailer, we had a similar shot in a different time of day. I thought this was just something worth pointing out, even though it's not that important. Moving on, we see our first angle of flying a plane, and it looks incredible. Now, one thing that stood out for me was the map in the bottom left. It's not like previous GTA games, instead it's a GPS style and not that bird's eye view. Now underneath the mini-map we can see what looks to be the player's health in green, possibly the armor in blue, and an unknown source in the third bar. Now in this shot here we can see that this building has 3 large posters on it, and I just want to confirm that this building is actually a real life building in Los Angeles. Over the last couple years while I was in LA for E3, I have seen this building with 3 large ads for games on them, so yeah, this is a real building or a real set of buildings. Anyway, moving on to this shot where we see the Venice Canals, or in the game I'm guessing they'll be known as the Vespucci Canals, and something I wanted to point out is that the size of the map is very interesting. Even though this game is going to be huge, in real life you can't actually see the city skyline from this point. So for people expecting a realistic scale comparison, don't be too upset when you don't get it. Anyway, we now move on to the bird's eye view of Mount Chiliad, where we can see the trails leading up from the left hand side to the top of the mountain, and to the right hand side of Mount Chiliad we can see a little town. So it's going to be interesting to see what little missions can happen around this small town. In the next shot we have Michael walking around, and you can see that he's in a rich shopping area which looks just like Rodeo Drive in real life. Now something I want to point out is that unlike in previous GTA games, the people walking around seem to be perfectly matched in the place that they are. What I mean by this is that it's not just people randomly put into random places. Instead, you look at their clothing, you look at the area, it all seems to match. So what I'm saying is, and what Rockstar have pointed out in the past, is that people are actually living their lives in this game. They're either going to a place, coming back from a place, or doing something that they have to do in the game, and it just makes sense for them to be in their area. And I'll show another example of this in a moment, but first up we have our first shot of driving in the game, which just looks awesome. And something else that is pretty awesome is this shot in Vinewood Boulevard in front of the Chinese theater, where 2 guys are dressed up as superheroes or game characters that are fighting. Now you can see that one of these guys on the left hand side that's dressed in green, and also a guy in the background on the right hand side are dressed kind of like Master Chief. So I'm guessing this is just a little joke by Rockstar to just put it in there and make a little joke about Halo. Moving on, but backtracking to the whole thing about people being in certain areas, you can see business people in a business district, which points to people living their own regular lives. Next up is a shot of Franklin walking. Yes, the Franklin walking shot, which got me very excited in my live reaction video. So yeah, it's something to point out here is that you can see the Grove Street colors are very prominent. Also, if you take a quick look, you can see a BMX bike in the shot, along with the huge artwork that says San Andreas and Welcome Back 88. So it's basically welcoming you back, and it's put that BMX bike in there just cleverly because that was the first mission you had in San Andreas. Now if we let the next few frames play, we can see that Chop, the dog, is following Franklin. So I'm guessing this means that Chop will follow you around. He can choose when you don't want him to follow you, or when you want him to follow you around, and when he can be in missions and things like that. I think this is pretty awesome because I'm excited to see how Chop will play into the game. But now we move on to the actual gameplay of the game, where it gets really exciting, and we have our first heist gameplay. And first up we can see that you will most likely come in flying with Trevor, then switch to Michael, who's on the side of a building, and we can see that this is actually on PlayStation. Now his yellow bar near his health in the bottom left, you can see it's going down, so I'm still trying to figure out what that could be, and personally I'm still guessing that this is the special ability system. Now speaking of special abilities and other sorts of abilities, you can see in this all his statistics for Michael. And as Michael does switch to Franklin, you can clearly see that Michael's character selection bit is in blue, and when you switch to Franklin's it goes to green. I'm pointing this out for a reason, and I'll get back to that in a second, but first, how awesome is this instant transition? Just keep watching this. This is instant. So basically you're inside the building, then you're outside and you're sniping. That's just awesome. Now back to the green and blue with the characters that I was just talking about. In this next scene where we see character swapping in free roam, which is just insane, you can clearly see that Franklin has a green shape grey to his character swap, and then it slightly transitions to blue. Then from Michael's blue, when you switch to Trevor, it goes to yellow. You see what I'm talking about there? Just something I thought was worth pointing out. Now something else I'm also going to point out is destruction. In this scene, you can clearly see that destruction is happening. Now it's similar to what we've seen in previous GTA games, but before it was very basic and now it seems to actually have a technique to it. Anyway, now we move on to car customization, and it actually looks like it's going to be pretty in-depth. And it looks like it's going to be so in-depth that I think there may be a chance that you could have custom license plates on the car that you own. For example, we can see this car has a custom number plate that says Crystal. So I'm guessing if you purchase your own car with your own money, put it into your own apartment or a house or whatever you purchase, what kind of property you want, that you'll be able to customize that car however you want and put custom number plates on it. It's just a thought, but it could be pretty cool if it does happen. Now continuing with customization, clothing and tattoos have returned. My guess is that tattoo parlors will differ depending on different areas, just like clothing does. Anyway, moving on from customization and to this shot of hunting. Something I wanted to point out that many didn't pick up on is that this scope is quite detailed, and on the right hand side we can see that wind may affect your shot. So what I'm saying is that you could possibly have to adjust your shot depending on the wind, and it may even have bullet drop like in Battlefield. We're not sure just yet, but I definitely think that wind could affect your shot. Unlike bullet drop, it may not be in there. Moving on to our next shot, and it's a very short clip. It's actually a split second long. In this scene we see Franklin walking and the camera angle changes, and what we see on the left hand side for a split second is a boat being towed by a car. So could this be just like San Andreas, where you could tow massive trailers on the back of trucks and other things like that? Also, if you do remember back, we saw a generator being towed in a previous trailer, so this could be very similar. I'm not sure how many things we'll be able to tow, but I'm guessing that boats and generators are now on the list. Anyway, in this next shot we see a computer with the internet, which I'll get to in a moment. But first, it's our first shootout on foot with Franklin. This is where we see the cover system, which is a little bit like Max Payne 3 and GTA 4 combined. Now in the bottom right, we can also see that Michael and Trevor are options to switch to, so you don't have to play as Franklin. Now I also believe that the little blue circles in the minimap are Michael and Trevor. My guess is that they're on the minimap so you can get an idea where the other two characters are, so if you want to switch to them you can. Now as Franklin switches weapons, you can see that the gun wheel is just like Max Payne 3 and it slows down, which is pretty awesome. But the difference to Max Payne 3 is that your selection of weapons is a whole lot greater than it was in Max Payne 3. Now in the top right, you can see weapon stats for each weapon, which is pretty cool. Additionally, if you look to the middle of the weapon wheel, you can see extras like extended clips and things like that, so you can customize your weapons on the fly possibly. But now moving on, and it's to driving. Now honestly, I don't even have any words for this. It's just ridiculously awesome, and it looks like a racing game, and it looks so much better than GTA 4's driving mechanics. I don't even know, I'm just gonna leave it at that. It just looks awesome. So yeah, with that, let's move on and to the mini games. It looks like they're gonna be a fun addition to the game, but it would be pretty cool to see these implemented to GTA Online, which I'll get to later. Now jumping back to something we saw at the start of the video, we see someone jump off Mount Chiliad. Now the way I can tell this is Mount Chiliad is that little town down below is exactly like what we saw at the start of the video that's in the little town next to Mount Chiliad from the bird's eye view. I said that I was going to get to this again, but here is the big question. We don't know what the destruction will be like. The reason I say that is it could possibly be only for missions, which wouldn't be that great, but it could also be in free roam, which would be pretty awesome. I guess we'll just have to wait and see when they release more footage or when the game comes out in like 2 months from now. So until then, we move on to this shot, which explains how heists are done in the game. And this was explained in the video, so I'm not going to go too in depth with that. But what I will point out is this next shot, which shows that you can buy property and invest in stock. This is what I meant by the internet being in the game. It looks like the internet could be a big part of it, and also money could be a huge part of the game. The reason I say that money could be a huge part of GTA 5 is that stocks are in the game, and they wouldn't put that in for no reason. But anyway, this is our final scene of the video, which shows us GTA Online. It looks just like complete insanity. There seem to be people all over the place doing whatever the hell they want, just causing mayhem. Also, if you're completely blind, your character is inside an apartment. So does this mean that you'll be also able to purchase property in online mode and have your own place? I'm not too sure right now, but I am sure that I can't wait to find out a whole lot more very soon. So there it is, guys, my in-depth look at GTA 5's gameplay video. I hope you did enjoy it. But that isn't the end of my video, because it wouldn't be a ChampChong video without some big news. Big news! So what could the big news possibly be after I just did a whole in-depth look at GTA 5's gameplay? say? Well, it's that Rockstar were awesome enough to reveal even more screenshots for GTA 5. So I'm gonna throw them up on screen real quick so you guys can take a look at them. If you want to take a closer look for each one, I guess just pause on it and have a look there. Also, another way to look at them is to Google search GTA 5 screenshots, change your preferences to past 24 hours, and then make it to large. That way you get the best quality and the latest images. Anyway, hopefully you do enjoy these screenshots that I just threw on screen real quick, and now it's time for the Gorilla Man question. Thanks, Gorilla Man. Okay guys, the question is, what will be the first thing you do in GTA 5 and why? So put your answer down below in the comment section, could end up on the next show. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you smack the like button, because I'm ChampChong, my access Australian. Here are the answers to Gorilla Man's previous question.